What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Cannot wait. The second half of the season is about to get underway. Monday, we play Brentford. And today, what we're going to be looking at is 5 players who didn't have too much of an impact in the first part of the season, who we think are going to have a really big impact in this second part of the season. And first player we're going to look at is the mid-season king in Matt Doherty. 4 goals. Was it 4 goals in 3 games or 3 goals in 2 games, is it?
No, 4 goals in 3.
Mad.
Alberto Carlos, they're calling him.
It's mad. It's mad. The form this guy is on is absolutely insane. Look, I think the level of opposition hasn't been great. We have played Motherwell. We've played, who was it? Someone under 21s. Peterborough's under 21s team. So
still, you've got to play what's in front of you, and he's a goal-scoring machine.
Yeah, he is a goal-scoring machine at the moment, and he's playing on the left wing-back role, cutting inside, and he's making a real big impact. And after the game last night against Nice, in the first half, he was so good. He really was, and that was against a good level of opposition in Nice. So we saw Matt Doherty in the first part of the season when Antonio Conte was here, and he was really starting to get to grips with the Conte system. He got that injury and never seemed to really recover as of yet, but maybe now's his time.
Yeah, because I think when Doherty's on top of his game and when he's at peak fitness physically, when he's at his sharpest, he can be a very effective wing-back when it comes to getting goals and assists and goal contributions. He's a pretty decent finisher. He can be pretty decent when getting into the box as well and being that kind of threat. And I think this season he's been lacking physically. Conte's mentioned a number of times how we haven't seen the Matt Doherty of last season. We really started to see it last season with Matt Doherty, even playing on the left. I remember against Newcastle at home, he started that game on the left and got a goal and assist.
Don't mention Chelsea away.
Yeah, forget Chelsea away. He wasn't quite up to grips with it then, but he was really starting to get into the flow of things when he got that big injury against Aston Villa, which was a massive shame.
Yeah.
And we saw what he can do for Wolves. And I really believe if we get Doherty back to his full fitness, I'm not saying he should be our long-term option, but he can make a big impact in the second half of the season and when it comes to really providing those goal contributions from wing-back. And we've seen it. And I do believe from what I've seen from these friendlies, and he's had a month, 6 weeks off now to really work on his fitness. And from what I'm seeing in these friendlies, he looked a lot sharper than he was in the first half of the season.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. And if we can get him in the mood and on the groove and in peak physical shape, then that's going to be definitely a big tool in our armoury moving on to the second part of the season. Whether it be at left wing back, whether it be at right wing back, he's definitely a tool that we can use, and he's looking good at the moment. So big up Matt Doherty. Let's hope he can bring this kind of form into the season. And he's looking sharp in front of goal, and he said after the game in his interview yesterday that he is feeling sharp in front of goal as well. He's feeling confident, he's feeling in good shape. So let's hope that he can kick on from here. Let's move on to number 2, and number 2 as we're going to be talking about is Yves Bissouma, and he's a player who obviously we signed him last summer. He, for one reason or other, Conte said that it's because he's not tactically ready yet that he has been playing in that 2 in midfield. He has been slightly progressing throughout the season, and we've seen flashes of the Bissouma that we've seen at Brighton. In these kind of mid-season games, he's been the best player pretty much in every single game. And we're seeing the real Bissouma that we saw at Brighton, and I really want to see him now stamp his authority in this first team. Now Bentancur's injured, he's got a bit of a, he's got a game to announce himself there. Højbjerg coming back off the back of a World Cup, maybe he can capitalise on tired legs from Højbjerg. And I think Bissouma, with the quality that he has got, he can really make a massive impact for us in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I think we were starting to slowly see it at the back end just before the World Cup. I remember the games against Liverpool at home where he was excellent, and he was really starting to show what we know Bissouma can bring to this team. We know he's got bundles of ability and capabilities, and even to show even more than what he showed at Brighton, in my opinion. We haven't quite seen it. Maybe it's, I don't know if it's a confidence thing or just breaking into learning Conte's system, but we haven't quite seen it. But we were showing glimpses of it, and we were starting to get it before the World Cup came. And from what I'm seeing in these friendlies from Bissouma, he looks a lot more confident. He's taking people on. He's driving through the centre of the pitch. I know the level of opposition it isn't great, but if you remember in pre-season, in the summer, he wasn't even looking great. I remember he wasn't looking confident. He was being very safe, and we're seeing a very different Bissouma right now. He's had, again, 6 weeks to work with Conte on tactical aspects and what have you. And I really believe in the second half of the season, it's all set up for him to explode. I really believe, and I think we haven't even seen a quarter of the potential of what Bissouma has in a Tottenham shirt. And I believe when we signed him, he was one of the best centre mids outside of the top six when we signed him, and I believe we're going to be seeing that Bissouma second half of the season. If we do, who knows what that means for the team if we can see that Bissouma.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And with Bissouma, like you say, he was a lot playing within himself, easy passes, quick sideways, backwards passes. But yesterday, what we saw on show was actually wonder balls out to the left flank, out to the right flank. He was pinging them across all day long, which I didn't really see too much of from his time at Brighton. But look, I think the more and more he plays, the more and more he gets the tactical information from Antonio Conte, the better he's going to get. And I think we're seeing that already. And hopefully he can take the form that he is showing right now in the friendlies into the season, like I said about Matt Doherty. But let's move on to number 3. And that is our ginger from Sweden, Dejan Kulusevski. And he's had a nice break, not in the World Cup, and I think that he is one that is definitely going to explode in this second part of the season. He had his injury problems in the first part, which held him back massively. We missed him dramatically, and I think this one's actually a dead cert. I'm pretty sure that Dejan Kulusevski is going to explode in this second part of the season, and I think he just provides so much for us in terms of creative ability, finishing ability, with such a young age. He's got such a big head on his shoulders, and I really think this guy's going to be a world star.
Yeah, when it comes to Kulusevski, it's been a bit of a weird season for him because he started really strongly in the opening day, got a goal and assist, and then Richarlison was just having great cameos, and Conte didn't want to rest or leave Son or Kane out the team. So the only one he left out was he felt like he could leave out was Kulusevski, and I don't think it was due to his performance. It was more due to Richarlison feeling like he earned a place in the team at the time.
I think in hindsight, it's probably a bad decision from
Conte.
Conte.
He probably should have left out Son, to be honest, considering how Son's performances have been. But I feel like it wasn't anything to do with how bad Kulusevski has been as to why he was being left out. And then he picked up that injury, and then obviously and then we haven't even seen him. He came back just before the World Cup, and he looked really sharp when he came back. And it's been a bit of a weird one. He's played well when he's been on the pitch, but he hasn't been on the pitch anywhere near as much as he should have been in that first half of the season. Obviously, that led from a explosion, which when he signed from January, he pretty much started like a house on fire, and now he's had this break. I really believe, from first of all, what I'm seeing in the friendlies again, he's looking really sharp and he's looking confident. I think he's got assists in all the games. From what he's saying as well in the interviews, he's itching to get back. I think he can't wait to get back on the pitch. It's been so long for him. And you got to remember, did he start any games before the World Cup? I think he may have started one.
Maybe one, yeah.
One after, because he came on against Liverpool. I think maybe started the Leeds game where he was brilliant again as well against Leeds in the 4-3. So I reckon he's raring to go. And I think once Kane and Son are back in the side, I reckon those three are going to click again, and I think he's going to have a sensational second half of the season. Yeah,
he came on against Liverpool, came on against Forest, and then started against Leeds, played 89 minutes. So the injuries have massively held him back. I mean, I'm just looking at the injuries. He's missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games through injury in that first part of the season. And the first game he missed was the North London derby. So I can't wait for him to be part of that North London derby in a few weeks' time. But yeah, he's definitely one that's going to explode.
And imagine adding his goal contributions into that team that we have, like, massively needed. Yeah, it is. It really is. And with Dejan Kulusevski, with what you say about the way he's talking and the way he shows himself on the pitch, I really think in the second half of the season, he is the one that's going to take that mantelpiece for the team and really spur that team forward and take authority on that pitch. And especially with Richarlison now out for 6 weeks, he's pretty much going to have a run. He's probably not going to miss a game for the next. We just need to keep him injury free. weeks, yeah. And I really believe he's going to have a big second half of the season.
Let's move on to number 4, and that is our World Cup winner, world champion in Romero. Well, this depends how long he's out partying in Argentina for, but right now, obviously, we don't have him because he's celebrating with his team out in his homeland, Argentina. But when he does come back, to be honest, look, it could go one of either two ways. Either he's just going to party his way through the season and like he deserves to because he is world champion, or he's going to come down, knuckle down to things and really help us, drive us forward to really achieve something for Tottenham Hotspur this season. And I think it is going to be the latter. I think the mentality that he does have, he wants to win. He's a winner, like we saw in that World Cup final, how good he was. And he's just so important to us. He's our best defender, hands down, by a million miles. And I think we've only seen a small percentage of how good he can get. And he's going to be so integral, so important for us in this second part of the season.
Yeah, he didn't quite have the best first half of the season. He showed, again, flashes of we know what he can do. He had some brilliant games, but a few games where he just was a bit off the pace and wasn't his usual self. We know that, you know, in the run-up to the World Cup, he had some injury problems and he wasn't quite available. And there was some talk about whether he was, you know, missing Spurs games on purpose to be fit for Argentina, whatever the case. But we know now the World Cup's over with. He's actually become world champion. He's had a brilliant World Cup. So when he comes back, he's going to be in confident mood. He's going to have that air of invincibility about him after that World Cup, in my opinion. And I really believe he's going to come back and he's going to be on top of his game. He's going to be in super confident mood. And that's when he's at his best, Romero, when he's super confident in everything he does and he's anticipating things and he feels like he can't be beaten and he just charges at people and he uses that aggression in his game, which is a major part of his game. And I believe that is really going to come to the fore in the second half of the season for Romero. And I believe he's going to be a lot better in the second half than he was in the first half. I do agree there are two ways of looking at it, because I remember Hugo, when after he won the World Cup,
the drink driving
he had the drink driving thing. He was in the best form as well. It kind of took him a bit to kind of get back to his best and reevaluate things. It actually took that big injury really for it to happen, if I remember rightly. But I think Romero, hopefully he's a different stage of his career, so I think he's going to be hungry for more, Romero, and I really believe he's going to come back firing second half of the season, and we need him to, because first half wasn't quite himself, but that World Cup, whether it was at the back of his mind or not, his mind should be clear now, and it will be focused on Tottenham.
Absolutely. And last but not least, it's Heung-min Son in 5th, and everyone knows that Sonny had struggled first part of the season. There's no two ways about that. And I think in the World Cup as well, he didn't have the greatest World Cup, where I expected a bit more from him. First half of the season, he only saw 3 Premier League goals for us, which all came in the same game against Leicester City. But I do think coming into the second part of the season now, Sonny will be refreshed, re-energized after that World Cup, after the heartbreak of going out to Brazil in the last 16. But they did their country proud. They really did, getting out that group, really tough group to get out of. So I think he'll come back to Tottenham now re-energized, and I think we're going to see the Sonny of old coming through in the second part of the season.
Yeah, surely Son can't go through the second half with only 3 goals like he did in the first half. One reason or another, things didn't quite go for him in the first half of the season. If you actually look at like chances created, he's actually near the top of the list, but when Son, we know he's at his best when he's scoring goals, running in behind. He's one of the best finishers in the league, in my opinion. So I think we need to see that Sonny in the second half of the season. I really believe we are going to see it. I think I didn't think he had the best World Cup. He obviously had that really good moment where he got the assist against Portugal and against Portugal to get them through to the last 16, which was a massive moment for them. And hopefully that will give him confidence going to second half that he can build on that. I think he's done his country proud. I think their country would have been proud to get to the knockout stages, considering the group they were in, especially. And I think that'll give him that lift, hopefully, to go into the second half of the season, where he had a bit of a loss of confidence potentially first half, but hopefully he can put that behind him. And I really believe he's in for a big second half of the season as well.
All right. Well, those are the 5 players we have looked at that we think are going to have a major impact, that didn't have too much of an impact in the first half of the season. Just one more player, actually, that I just wanted to touch on is Ivan Perisic after his World Cup as well, because he's been brilliant in the World Cup, playing on the left-hand side, on the left wing. Obviously, we deploy him as a left wing back, but do you think that maybe he should get more minutes, maybe as a left winger? coming into the second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he did well for Croatia in that role, and I think he's a decent left winger. I do believe his best position is left wing back, but I also think maybe that when it comes to us forcing the issue and a tactical, if we're for tactical reshuffles and maybe for rotation purposes, I think he can do that role. I think we haven't seen enough of him in that role for Spurs, but I do believe. For me, anyway, I think his best position is at left wing back. Considering I don't believe he has that ability to play there in the left wing for 90 minutes like he used to. But obviously he did brilliantly for Croatia over the last month in the World Cup. So I think he can be an option there. But I would still favour him at left wing back for me.
All right. Well, there you have it. Those are the 5 players we have looked at to make an impact, major impact for Tottenham Hotspur in the second part of the season. I cannot wait to get things up and running again. Brentford on Monday, 12:30 kickoff. We'll see you all there. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.